Hello, this is Alex Calvo Garcia. You're listening to the Iron Hour podcast.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the Iron Hour podcast. It's Barra here hosting and joined by two of the usual panelists. First up, Max Bell. How you doing, Max?
All the better for seeing you, Barra. I know you hate that line, but that makes me just want to say it more, mate.
That's fine. I'll tell you another thing, mate. The bin collections in Ashby are absolutely terrible at the minute. So deal with that what you want. And also joined today by
Honestly, he's in a mood, and we haven't even started. Marco, I've set him up. You knock him down.
Thank you for stealing that. We're also joined today by the one and only Marco Poliga. Now, Marco, of course, we're getting to the end of the season, but good news for the Iron fans amongst us because we've decided to recommission ourselves for another season at least.
Who behind our?
Yeah.
Yeah, we take that. Yeah, it's. I'm sure a lot of people will think it's good news, but yeah, no, it's got 2 years now.
2-year anniversary.
Yeah, 2-year anniversary today. So yeah, it's some going. Been a lot of, I'd say, a lot more good times than bad. But yeah, look, we love doing what we do, and the feedback we get is just outstanding. Look, we appreciate it, not for everyone, but yeah, it's been a roller coaster. Got some great guests coming up in the next few weeks as well. Something we'll keep trying to do, especially in the off season. So yeah, no, long way to continue.
2 years is more than a lot of marriages last. I mean, and they have nearly as many arguments as we do.
Yeah, can I just say my relationship barely made it out of this week, so every mercy and all the rest of it. Off season was a little bit American as well, Marco.
Off season, yeah. What would you call it? In the closed season?
Yeah, I don't know.
I would.
Yeah, what do you call that time with no football? Because it's just hell.
Hell. Shite.
Yeah. Turns out I've got a girlfriend.
Who knew?
What's that all about? So yeah.
Right, so lots to talk about this week, of course. As you know, as we mentioned, really, we're getting into that final stretch now, just 5 games to go. Bit of a change from Andy Butler this week in terms of naming a goalkeeper as a substitute, which I'm sure we'll get onto. But for me, that was like the first line in the sand. That was him setting a marker of we are absolutely in the final running. This is it's an intention from him, a sign of intent. Every game from now until the end of the season is a cup final, Marco.
Yeah, it was weird seeing the goalkeeper on the bench, considering we've not done it all season. It was a big talking point. I don't know if we were maybe looking a bit too much into it, so not making a meal of it, but making it something it wasn't. Obviously, Campbell had a good second half, and obviously shone in the penalty shootouts in the cup, so maybe a little reward there. Look, it was Southport home. Butler obviously trusted he had enough on the pitch and with the 4 outfield subs to be able to name Campbell. So he obviously doesn't back Boyce as a second keeper like we all seem to do. But look, yeah, no, look, to have that safety, it'd be interesting to see what percentage of teams in this league do name a keeper. I'd like to know that because, look, touch wood, we haven't needed to do it this season, but there is always that risk. So, like you said, going into these important games, these last 5, I'd much rather have one because a lot of times Williams has been that 5th sub and he's came on for a minute for the sake of having Cam on the bench. I think we'd maybe see him for the next 4 or 5.
Yeah, go on. Sorry, but Barry, I was just about to say, I agree with that, and I think if you listen to Butler's post-match interview on BBC Radio Humberside as well, he was very open about it and saying, look, this is now the end of the season where the margins are so fine and absolutely everything matters. And to be honest, I wouldn't have a problem with having one of your 5 substitutes on the bench being the keeper regardless. If you're having to make more than 4 subs to win a game, then chances are something's gone wrong anyway. It'd be different if it was 3 subs. You know, I think back to the early 2000s in particular when, you know, even in the Football League, Lawsy, for example, if we only had 3 subs, you'd usually have a defender, a midfielder, a striker of various hues. So I support having Campbell on the bench. Now is not the time to be making 93rd minute time wasting substitutions for the sake of it. Now is the time to be going, look, we might not be able to drop 2 points. We might have to win all 5 of our last 5 games on the run that Kidderminster are on. So let's not F about. Let's not make a mistake. Let's just, make his life as easy as it can be in what's going to be a very, very difficult few weeks, I'm sure.
Let's try and analyse the game a little bit more then. Of course, good victory for the Iron. They all are at this stage, but 2-0 over Southport, Max. Some really good performances. But I guess the takeaway, the biggest point that a lot of Iron fans are talking about now is the fact that we're getting results despite not having Danny Whitehall available to us.
Yeah, and we're creating chances and we're scoring goals. Look, I thought we played well against Southport. It could have very easily been 4 or 5, but it wasn't. And in fairness to the Southport keeper, I think he had a really good game, particularly in the second half. Made 4 or 5 pretty decent saves, to be fair to him. So, look, we were always going into that as favourites, particularly Southport, very comfortably mid-table. They've not really got anything to play for. I'd have been disappointed if we hadn't won by hook or by crook. But at this stage of the season, again, look, we'll see when Whitehall comes back. And Butler in his post-match interview was talking about how he didn't want to rush him back and potentially, get a complication or get a recurrence of his injury, so he's out for longer. But he was adamant he would be back before the end of the season. So I look forward to seeing whenever that is, because I'm not sure he's going to be Radcliffe on Saturday either, to be honest with you.
No, that's certainly what Andy Butler said in his Thursday interview with BBC Radio Humberside, that it doesn't look like Danny Whitehall will be available for the Radcliffe game. Marco, I didn't know if that was a little bit of gamesmanship. I'm still not sure I quite take that at face value. I'm not saying Whitehall will play, but it wouldn't surprise me as well if he's kind of being a little bit coy and keeping his cards close to his chest at this stage of the season. But in light of the fact we haven't had our, one of our top 2 goal scorers on the pitch, one player who really has stepped up in this period, it's been Kean Scales.
Yeah, who are Kean Scales down as our goal scoring saviour. Yeah, no, I don't think it's a surprise. I mentioned on the podcast through the week how good he was actually running forward with the ball and getting into those positions. There's been a few times this season where he has obviously managed to break those lines, and he's came up with a few good chances. And obviously, you're not having him down as the finisher, and we've had Whitehall up there to sort of get those goals. But yeah, Kean Scales, and obviously I think we're going to mention it later, Cowan. They've both sort of stepped up to the mark and filled that void for Whitehall's goals, which is really positive. And look, Whitehall, Roberts, obviously our 2 main threats, but if you can get goals coming elsewhere in the team across that midfield, then so be it. Obviously that's not with Clunan, he's a different type of player, but you'd hope Scales and Rowley, or whether that be Williams or so on, if they can chip in with goals, it's a real positive and a good threat to have.
Marco, let's stick with it then. Talk to me about Carlton.
I think he's been doing what he's been doing all season. For the first 3 quarters of the season, we were just begging him to get a goal because you could see the performances were getting better. Obviously, sort of Christmas time when we hit that sort of rough patch as well before then. I know a lot of fans were questioning, is he the right man? Is he the right sort of player to be in this team, to be up there? Obviously, with a fit Whitehall, you'd maybe argue no. He's not that man through the middle. I think we saw when Whitehall was playing, he could play in the free, coming on the left. But recently, he has stepped up to the plate. I think he's really took his chance well. Look, the goal that got disallowed on Saturday was a fantastic finish. He was very unlucky with that. And it's almost as if I don't know, it's almost as if he struggles more with the easier chances than he does with the hard, which is very odd in a striker, because Danny Whitehall's bread and butter. I know he scored some worldies, like you mentioned on the podcast the other week, but the tappings, and that's where you want your striker in it. It's being that fox in the box and getting those little chances, but Carlton doesn't seem to get them. It's got to be a good goal. I know he got that one the other week where it sort of hit him, and obviously the all for it and one, but no, it's really good. He has really stepped up, and look, like we said, with Whitehall maybe not being in the mix on Saturday, I fully expect to see Carlton starting up there, and I won't back against him in a minute.
Max, what were the takeaways from Saturday for you? I guess the other thing, maybe to just touch on quickly, is Marco talked about the disallowed goal there for Carlton. Now, it was almost a carbon copy of the goal he scored in the Links Cup midweek.
Yeah, it was. So I hope you weren't convinced it was Federa again. Oh look! Don't look at me like that. You must have known that was coming. Go on.
Can I make a case for the defence?
Make a case for the defence.
Having watched the replay back, it's Federa that does all the work. Lays it on.
So
I'm going with that. Stick with it. Forgive me.
That's fair, but I just want to place it in the proper context of when it comes to a battle of the eyesight. I am never ever right, and I was 2-0 in that Links Cup game, 2-0 against you and the Tannoy bloke. Honestly, Specsavers, they'll have been absolutely buzzing that night.
All three of us had glasses on. It reminds me of the last Hour podcast game where our centre-back partnership both had glasses. Amazing. Never been done before.
No, when you've got a back four, three of them have got glasses on, and actually everyone's thinking, do you know what, that back four's playing really well.
I must have been on the bench at that point.
No. My left back any day of the week. My left back. Look, seriously, that in terms of takeaways, I thought you hit the nail on the head earlier, which is that we can and have to create chances, score goals, and win games without Whitehall. I probably expect Saturday against Radcliffe to be tougher, just because we're away from home. And whilst I think Radcliffe might have enough points to be safe now, I'm not sure that either Needham or Russell are going to get to 44, which they probably need to overtake Radcliffe on goal difference. I'm sure that Radcliffe won't see it like that, and I wouldn't see it like that in their shoes. I'm sure they'll be up for it. I'm sure they'll try and make it difficult for us out of possession. So we'll see. Hopefully, we can get the ball into good areas. We can get the ball into the feet of the likes of Carlton, the likes of Scales, and the likes of Beeston, who I thought did a really good job on Saturday again, even though I'm still not convinced this is his natural position. And look, if you offered me a gritty, unconvincing 1-0 win on Saturday, I'd rip your arm off, say thank you very much, good night.
How have you, I'll stick with you, Max, how have you found these last few performances, particularly Saturday? I saw a little bit of criticism for the performance online, saying it wasn't exactly a classic, but I maybe didn't see it like that. I'm looking at games and thinking, like, the football at times isn't terrible at all. It's pretty good. Defensively, we look tight. We always look like we're gonna create something up front. I'm maybe not getting as, I don't know. I have seen a lot of comments that are alluding to the fact that it's a professional job. We're doing what we need to do. Performances aren't great, but at least we're getting the results. Are you buying that?
So I didn't really see any critical comments or hear any on the terrace. If two of the chances in the second half go in, you say 4-0, lovely job. You know, I think so. I think in terms of the recent results, obviously we had Saturday, we had the win against Chester, which by any marker was excellent. I've not heard anybody saying otherwise. Obviously, the loss away at Kidderminster was disappointing, but there were a lot of things wrong that night, not just our performance. You know, and then I think to Farnsley, okay, Farnsley was fine. You could beat Farnsley 10-0 and still right now everyone's going to go, yeah, but it's Farnsley, which I do get. I do get that. So, I mean, I think the football's been fine. But by and large, I particularly at this stage of the season, I really, really, really don't care. I think we'll need 4 wins. I think that'd be enough. And if they're fabulous free-flowing football, great. If they're not, well, they're still worth the same amount of points at the end of the day. The champagne won't taste any less sweet if you win 1-0 as if you win 6-0.
No, but it will be alcohol-free.
Do you know, away at Exeter, when we got promoted, I vividly remember, I think I was stood near the front with Becky and with Sam Allen, amongst others. And I still remember getting absolutely soaked by Dion Burton with the champagne. and it tasted like absolute. Well, the word I wouldn't say on here. I've still never really got the attraction of it after that. Maybe Scunny or the EFL bought the really, really cheap grade stuff. That wouldn't surprise me.
Some amazing memories from that day. I'll never forget the lad who used to work at McDonald's, whose name I've never known, but he ran onto the pitch in a Hawaii shirt and thought he would get away with it. Like, so I think you've given it away, mate. You're the only fella in the terrace with a Hawaii shirt on. They soon collared him when he got back into the crowd.
Do you think that's what stands for camouflage in Devon?
Mate, it was I don't know what the word is, but there's the flowers around his neck that really did it for me.
Yes, very, very happy memories. Even I think of how much rain there was. I remember getting back on the supporters club coach after the game, and everybody
there was a lot of water.
Yeah, getting everybody's jackets and coats off and basically hanging them up on the parcel shelf at the top. And in the 5 hours it took us to get home, nobody's stuff had dried. But look, if that's what we get at Hereford, sign me up any day of the week.
Sign me up as well. Marco, we've not heard from you in a while. The big confession from Andy Butler this week that he has in fact looked at the league table and we're top.
I mean, we'd be pretty concerned if he'd not done this at that point. Yeah, I'm sure it's a nice surprise to see, but hey, there's no Tamworth this year and we're not doing too bad. But yeah, look, I think every single manager says that at the start of the season, don't they?
It's rubbish. It's got to be bollocks. Every manager says it. There's no way that's true. Or I don't check the league table. Rubbish.
When Jay had one of the members of Humberside was interviewing me the other day, he says obviously you play Ulford to the top, and he goes Ulford at the top. Yeah. Oh, so you do know. So you have been looking. I know I made this joke saying, can you imagine if he was playing for a draw in the last game of the season, not knowing we needed to win the league?
He's just like, Michelle, why are they all booing me?
We're taking it to the corner flag when we need to win because he doesn't know we'd 1 point off. But no, it's always a positive when your manager's looking at the league table. But yeah, no, it's okay. I think there's every manager in England says that, and I can feel he just wanted to take the pressure off the players and stuff. So I can understand why he said it, but it was funny.
But the point there, though, is that's been the rhetoric all season, and now the sudden change where it's we're looking at the table, and I tell you what, as well, we're going to name a keeper. It feels like the game's changed, right?
Yeah, maybe sort of a change of emphasis. I know Max said, obviously, with the performances and stuff, I think we've just been not ruthless, but just competent. And I think it's no frills, get the job done, get out. And look, even the most gullible person in the world would say he's not looking at to believe he's not looking at the league table, it just is a lie, because he'll definitely be keeping an eye out for, obviously, Kidderminsters, obviously, Brackley still out of it. So, obviously, they're not going to affect us, and Butler will have that mentality of we just do us and get our victories. Obviously, starting with Saturday. Saturday will be tough. Saturday will be tough, I think. Obviously, sometimes those teams that are safe and can't go up and can't go down, shackles off. Sometimes they're the ones that they take those extra risks going forward and aren't too fussed to push too many men forward because they don't really mind if they concede a goal. So I'm a bit worried about Saturday, but look, like I said, competence is the best word. I think we are just getting the job done, and that showed on Saturday as well. I don't think it was a bad performance by any stretch of imagination. Like you said, the gentleman who we had on the Iron Out Spimer camp last week, I forgot his name. Was it Rob Irwin?
Yes, Rob Irwin. Good guy. Great guy.
Yeah, couldn't have got the shout with their goalkeeper any better. He was fantastic that second half. Barring the Roberts corner, which nearly went in.
He got a fingertip to that. That was a save.
Yeah, he played very well. So yeah, look, Radcliffe will be similar, but I do back us to go there and get the job done. And like Max said, I don't care if it's 1, I don't care if it's 9. We really do need to go get there and get them points. And just Kidderminster and Brackley we will not affect that, and we'll all be looking. We'd be lying if we said we wouldn't all be looking. But no, look, this is squeaky bum time of the season, and I love it. And it's so good to be involved in a title race, because if I was being honest, I didn't have us in it at the start of the season. I thought we'd maybe squeak playoffs, but good position to be in. So yeah, I'm excited.
Go on, mate. Go.
No, I was just about to say, just on what Marco said in terms of the pressure. Look, having pressure is not a bad thing. It's how you deal with it. I think back to what Billy Sharp always used to say about, in Scunny won the title in 06, 07. He says that every other club, when Scunny got to the top, they're under pressure now. The underdogs, are they worried about bottling it? And he said, I could look round that dressing room before every big game and know that nobody cared. Like, he said, they were so relaxed. I knew that they were going to deliver under pressure. And he said, I've been in dressing rooms where it's not like that, where you can, before a big game, you can almost smell the pressure. You can feel it. So, look, being honest about, I would always rather us be honest about something, and rather than pretending it's not there, because then it becomes a bit of an elephant in the room. I fancy us on Saturday. I do think Brackley should be out of it. I mean, if they're going to overhaul us.
You're killing me here, guys. I've got a format where we talk about the Radcliffe game very soon, and you're all jumping in on us.
Go on then, Barry, you go.
Right, I'll tell you what. Let's have, before we get on to the Radcliffe game, let's have our usual Spy in the Camp. So our Spy in the Camp this week is podcaster from Radcliffe Radio, and of course the stadium announcer at Radcliffe, Mr. Jon Belfield. Thank you for joining us, John. How are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. How are yourself? Well, good. I should imagine sitting top of the league.
It's fantastic. And can I say, please don't be alarmed when we say Spy in the Camp, because we had a Chester fan on recently, and this segment is obviously called Spy in the Camp. And when the other Chester fans heard that we were calling him the Spy in the Camp, there was some threats of violence, John.
Oh no, I don't think Bernard and John are going to trust me with the secret formulas to every game somehow, mate. Leave that to them. I'll leave that to them. So.
Right. Well, you fantastic intro for us there. You mentioned our league position being top of the tree going into Saturday's fixture. Radcliffe obviously down in 20th, but a healthy gap, 7 points above the relegation zone. How's that been?
Yeah, I think it's been a more difficult season than we imagined. I think we all thought in the media team it might be mid-table, just below mid-table. We thought it was more because of, obviously, we went on a great run last season and won the league quite easily, and you hope to carry that into the next season. We made some good additions. But it's been a tough season. We have sort of, when you look back at when we played a lot of the teams in the league the first time round, which we talk about in our podcast, and we look at what position we were in at that time, and like it was second bottom. I don't think we won a game till October, so it was a difficult start. A lot of injuries. I think it's just getting used to the league. It's not an easy league. There's lots of teams like yourself that have either played a lot higher up the pyramid, or a lot of teams like Brackley, for example, who are proper established in this league. But yeah, we went on quite a good run. That's what we tend to do. We tend to go on runs. We went in quite a good run during January, where we got three wins on the bounce. I think Buxton was one of the teams that we played, in Chorley, and that's kind of set us apart. We've then got like wins away at Warrington, which we needed to, South Shields at home. And then we've kind of lost 3 on the bounce now, but that gap of 7 points hasn't changed. It stayed the same. For no one else below us is winning, so that is, touch wood, the only saving grace. So I think we'll be safe. We probably need 4 more points just to be absolutely perfect and stay in the league, and then we see how we crack on for next season.
You mentioned there about the fact that you've obviously come up a level, and there's. You never know what you're going to get because of, I guess, you touched on it yourself, really, the mixture of teams that you have at this level. What's it been like going to teams like Scunthorpe, like Kidderminster, like Hereford, Chester, those kind of teams? Is it something that's been enjoyable, or has it been intimidating at times?
I don't think it's intimidating. I think Kidderminster was kind of the most bizarre game ever, because they had like a real purple patch and scored 3 in about the space of 15 minutes, and that was it. I think the biggest thing that we've noticed, especially with teams that are full time, are quite established, is you can tell on the pitch, not because of the fitness, but more the structure of the team. You can see that they train, more than twice a week, and just the organisation and the structure and the way that they play. That tends to to win the games. I mean, we've not had massive heavy defeats. You'll see this season there's been some 7-0, 7-1s floating around. So we've not been on the end of any of them, fortunately. Although, fingers crossed, that doesn't now come back and bite me on the bum on Saturday.
Well, you could do with a big goal swing, because you obviously mentioned the fact we are top, but Kidderminster have a better goal difference than us.
Right.
So really, at home to Southport on Saturday was the game we should have really put 4 or 5 past them and didn't. So of course, you don't know, right? Radcliffe could beat us.
Yeah.
You could have a game you imagine we could be terrible, or you could get a deserved draw, just like you did at our place earlier on the season. Let's make that absolutely clear. You was deserving of a point that day. But I would say if we go 2-0 up, the game will open up, because I think we'll try and get the goals if it's on the table. What do you think that'll do for the game?
Yeah, that was definitely the story of the start of our season. When I said we kind of struggled to get a win early on, that was very much that kind of scenario, really, going 2-0 down at home, especially, where we've been so dominant the season before, and we start to chase the game and put the pressure on and start really pushing people forward, even central defenders going up top, and that then, of course, leaves us wide open at the back. So all of a sudden, a 2-0 becomes a 3-0, and there's been quite a few times when that happened early on in the season. I think, look, it's difficult. We went 2-0 down against Brackley in the first half in our last home game. And it was quite an even first half, but it was just two. Bernard and Jono talk a lot about individual errors, and that's probably what's cost us. If we can cut them out, then we'd probably be another 10, 15 points better off. But that's what happened 3 Saturdays ago, I think it was, or 2 Saturdays ago, when we were last at home. And we rallied in the second half and played really, really well, but just never kind of had that cutting edge. It ended up 2-1. But that's been the story of our season. We've just brought in David Ball, who's been playing in New Zealand, ex-City kid, and then played for Fleetwood and teams like that, but has been over in New Zealand for 5 or 6 years and become a bit of a cult hero. But I think he's home now and was looking for a club to finish his career off. So he's a striker. He's not played yet, so it'd be his first game on Saturday if he gets in the squad. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of mixes the striking options up a little bit.
You mentioned about, Bernard and Jono having that experienced managerial team. What's that like for a team like Radcliffe? Is that kind of in line with the kind of managers that you would hope to lure in, or do you feel quite lucky to have that kind of experience?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a step up from who we've had. We've always kind of gone for, in the previous 2 managers especially, first appointments. So Bobby Grant, it was his first appointment. Okay.
John ex-Scunny player, by the way.
Yeah. Well, John Mackham before that was the first appointment, and then we go back before that. But I think that obviously they came to us with 600 odd games experience, and now over 700 games experience. They definitely knew how to get out the league below. Now we've come into this league, they know how to get out of this league as well. I think it's just a case of they're not just bringing the club through or bringing the players through, it's bringing the whole club through, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And that's the challenge. It's constantly, the club is constantly changing because we want to better ourselves, and it's about trying to change everything, and slowly it's happening. Like I say, to stay in this league this season would be a definite bonus and definite positive note. And then we just have to see what they do over the summer. They're very honest people, and they'll identify the players who maybe haven't quite done it this season that they hope that they would, and then it's who we can bring in. They've got a lot of contacts, and that's always useful to have. Some of the players that we have brought in this season, like George Glendon, Chester's old captain, he's a great player. Danny Greenfield from Farsley. Probably, I know they've not had a great season, but he's definitely one of their best players. So we know how to. Brad Roscoe, who came from Hyde United, we know how to pick up the best players from teams kind of mid to low table. So pick up a few more of them next season, who knows? But let's worry about Saturday first and not next season. Don't get ahead of ourselves. We still need to get those 4 points from somewhere. So
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you'll stay up. You mentioned many a player there. Any kind of players you would highlight as being a real threat on Saturday? Could cause us some real problems?
Yeah, well, Danny and George definitely in the midfield with Matt Sargent. Those 3 in the midfield are really talented players, really, really talented players, and also at the right age, 24 to 28, 29. They're not sort of mid-30s still. So definitely those. Walker on one side of the pitch has definitely had a really good second half of the season, tends to play on the left. So yeah, he can definitely be a threat if he starts. And it depends what formation we set up with. We've set up 5-3-2, 3-5-2, 4-4-2. I'm sure that the managers are fully aware of the threat that you guys will pose. I mentioned Brad Roscoe a minute ago. He was out injured. I don't know whether he's going to be back, but he has been a mainstay in the centre of defence this year.
Chipped in with 5 goals as well.
Yeah, well, that was all at the start of the season. So he's our top goal scorer at one point. But yeah, we've just about got Ollie Thornley and Rick Smith back, who were our centre back pairing from last season. Who they've literally tag teamed each other for injuries this season, so they might get a run now for the last 5 or 6 games together. We just brought a left back in from Grimsby as well, so it'd be interesting to see if he gets a if he gets a debut. He couldn't play again on last Saturday, so yeah, we've got Brad Jackson as well on the right hand side. If he's playing right wing back, he will bomb forward and is really he's up and down, up and down, up and down. So. But yeah, we have got a couple of players out as well, like Jude Ayibo, who would have played sort of just off the front player. He's been brilliant, but been injured a lot this season. So, we've been a little bit unlucky there, but it depends on kind of how Bernard and Jono want to either have a go at you guys or try and nullify your threat and nip one on the break, I suppose.
Just before you leave us then, John, do you want to hit us up with a score prediction for the weekend?
I think we'd probably take a draw. We'd probably take a draw because we've got other games to come where, we've still got Farsley to play away. We've got to get points out of that. Our last game is home against Alfreton. We've got Chorley away as well. So we've still got a few teams to play in and around the top end of the table too. But I'd take a 1-1 draw. I can't see it being 2-2 because I just don't see us scoring 2 against you, unfortunately. We might nick a 1-0. But I think 1-1 might be realistic. But yeah, you guys are playing well at the moment, and you had your blip. I think you had your blip when we played you last time, and but you seem to have got over that now. So it will be a really tough game, and I know you'll bring numbers, and the atmosphere should be great.
Well, Max, I'll kick off with you. The thoughts there from the stadium announcer at Radcliffe, and just before that segment, eager to get your pennies worth in. So over to you right now. How do you see this one going?
I fancy us to go over the line on Saturday. It's a big game, but even with my cynical head on, I do think that Brackley should be out of the title race. If they're going to overhaul us, we're going to need to drop 5 points, and I'd be disappointed if we did that at this stage of the season. But it's specifically Saturday. I mean, if we're going to throw this title race away, I don't think it'll be on Saturday. I looked at Kingsland away. I looked at Hereford away, particularly on the last day of the season. I'm sure Iron fans of a certain generation will remember a trip to Brisbane Road on the last day of the season in the late 80s when the Leighton Orient Tannoy announcer once famously announced that Scunthorpe had been promoted, and they bloody hadn't. So, look, no end to the season for us will be as bad as that. No matter what happens, I do fancy us against Radcliffe on Saturday. I think we'll get 3 points.
Definitely a symptom of the time, that, because you can't imagine such a case of misinformation spreading unless LiveScore literally put a goal in that had been disallowed or something in another game. Like, it's hard to imagine so many people with access to the internet not knowing now that we'd either been promoted or not. Marco, how do you see Saturday's game going?
It's going to be tough. Like I said, I know I said earlier, I don't think it's a case of what side turns up now. We know what we're going to get, and I think we should have more than enough to take it to Radcliffe, get 3 points, get out and look ahead to next Saturday. Obviously, we're spending more games. So, look, you'd hope we have enough. I think we will. I'd go for, I don't know if we're doing score predictions, but I'm going, again, I was somebody said on Twitter, and I forgot who it was possibly Phil, said if you go back over a full podcast this season, I reckon Marco's ahead on his predictions. And I reckon he's not far off. But I'm going again. I'm sticking with my trusty 2-0 away win to the Iron.
Right then, Marco, it's your job now to go comb through hours and hours and hours of stuff.
Look, we don't have any listeners. I'm not listening. I'm not listening to us a lot. Also, on a side note, I know you mentioned about making mistakes. After the Chester game the other week, my missus picked me up from the pub in Snaith, it was.
That doesn't sound like you. Having to get a lift home from the pub. Surely not.
She said, oh, you're in a good mood. I went, yeah, why wouldn't I be? She went, well, 0-0 won it. I went, no, we won 3-1. She went, are you joking? She said, Google said 0-0. I went, did Google not even do our scores at this level? I then had my grandparents saying, oh, bet that were a boring game. On Saturday, won it 0-0. I went, it was 3-1. Like, what's going on? So, yeah, anybody using Google or anybody checking the scores if you can't get to a game, do not use Google. We've kept a clean sheet every game of the season, according to Google, which I'm sure Butler would love.
Take that, Burnley.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was quite funny. But, yeah, live score is probably your safest bet, I think.
Right, before we have your prediction, Max, I know you do love a stat, and we used to, well, I'm sure we'll revisit at some point in the segment we had with Iron Stats where we would kind of look at a stat from this week. Well, I've done a little bit of research for you, Max.
Ooh, okay, go on.
I've come up with this stat, which I'm not saying it's 100% accurate, but
you built it up now, haven't you? I'm not sure it's right, but I've got a stat.
It is right. Okay, so if it is right, if Scunthorpe beat Radcliffe on Saturday, they will be on 84 points from 42 games, which is exactly 2 points per game. And we've talked all season about the fact that we need about 2 points a game really to get over the line. Okay.
Yep.
Now, this would be the first time since the 29th of October when we were averaging 2 points per game. And that was when we had 28 points from 14 games after beating Farsley Celtic 6-0 at home on the Tuesday night. And would you believe the very next game where we lost the streak of being on 2 points per game was 0-0 at home to Radcliffe. So the omens are there.
So is the omen that we draw 0-0 with Radcliffe because A, Marco's talked about Google getting the score wrong, and B, it stopped us from staying at 2 points a game, or do we get over the line against Radcliffe to get back there, and then the first game after is the drop off?
No, so if we draw on, if we don't win on Saturday, we won't have hit 2 points per game. The only way to hit the 2 points per game is if we beat them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, we'll see, won't we? I mean, Kidderminster have also got a tough game away at Buxton, which is I think a difficult place to go, and B, Buxton right now have really got everything to play for. I'd rather have away at Radcliffe than away at Buxton, so I'm not necessarily sure there's any guarantee that Kiddie go up to Derbyshire and get all 3 points. But we can only control what we can control, and that's coming away from Radcliffe with 3 points. Hopefully, I'll go for a 1-0 away win.
Okay, I'm going to go for my usual 4-0 run through them.
To be fair, you on another day, Saturday, you could have been there thereabouts. I didn't think that. I know, obviously, I was right with 2-0. But no, it could have easily been 4 or 5 back.
So were you cheering Renshaw on in goal then? Is that what you were saying?
Good keeper. I knew
Great
it.
keeper.
Yeah.
Great hands. Really soft hands.
Good
I remember going away to Derby, when we've done 4-1 in the Championship.
Yeah.
And the days before mobile betting, there was a Scunny fan who'd been on the bus who had got he got a score cast on Scunny to win 3-1 and Gary Hooper to score first. It was something insane, like 175-1. Obviously, Scunny are 3-1 up, and Gary Hooper scored first. He's thinking, I'm getting the patio done with this. I'm taking the missus to Benidorm. Jonathan Ford goes through and hits an absolute scuffer through the keeper's legs. Shocking error from the keeper. And, the 999 Scunthorpe fans behind the goal celebrating. You just see the one bloke with his head in his hands going, no! That'll be Marco at 2-0.
The best thing about that game in particular was the fact that Derby crawled over broken glass to get that game on because they needed it. I mean, I think it was maybe one of only 2 or 3 championship fixtures that day that was on because of the weather. And obviously, if it had been at Scunthorpe, there's no chance it would have been on.
Absolutely. Undersoiled heating. They'd had volunteers clearing the outside of the ground on. I think in many ways my favourite bit was maybe after the game. When BBC Radio Derby were criticising their performance so heavily that Robbie Savage rang in to complain.
Amazing.
I know he's done a good job, albeit with a massive budget at Macclesfield this season. Which they're from two, they'll not be at Scunthorpe next season. And he was bloody right.
Yeah, he was. He was right. He was right indeed. I mean, sorry, I know this isn't a Scunthorpe Derby podcast, but I remember the best thing about that was we were the feature game on the Championship, which I cannot ever remember happening on another occasion. So that was like,
How mental is it that we've gone for, like you said, the feature game on the Championship and we're away at Radcliffe on Saturday?
Levels, mate.
Perspective, yeah, it is crazy, isn't it?
I'm looking.
Go on.
I know. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going on the train. I'll be getting the tram. I've never been to Radcliffe before. It's a new ground. Bring it on.
I've never been on a tram.
No, that can't be true.
Never been on a tram.
You've not done Bury Away?
Not on a tram.
Yeah, just a tram from Selby.
I've genuinely held my hands up. I was speaking to my dad today. I said, I've genuinely never been on a tram.
Manchester, Sheffield.
He's not done it, mate. I don't know how else to break this to you, Max.
I promise. So I will be losing my tram virginity. But I will also be having a train day. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot to be said for these, like obviously National League and this year. There's been a lot of good memories and a lot of away days. And look, the fact I know I say it every podcast, I'm just glad we've got something to cheer and moan about. So, but a special shout, obviously, Robbie Savage coming up with Macclesfield. I wanted to make them my heroes, but I've changed it. Tamworth. Obviously, we're talking about us going up.
They're not your heroes, are they? Because we're not quite on that segment yet.
No, I was going to though, but we were talking about obviously getting promoted. Obviously, this year, Tamworth going 3 points away from the playoffs in the league above. To me, fills me with a lot of hope because I know they had a really good season, Ali. But were they that much of a better team? I don't think so. Which fills me up with a lot of hope if we do go up that we maybe. Obviously, I'm not saying we'll do as well as them and go near the playoffs, but possibly stay up without looking over our shoulders.
I would say that they are ending this season absolutely phenomenally. I look at the results for March. 1, 2, 3, 5 wins and a draw in March. It goes to show, same with ourselves, same with Kidderminster. Give me a strong end to the season any day of the week over a strong start.
Them and Boston must be top of the form table.
Yeah, and they both look nailed on to go down.
Yeah.
Right, before we have our hero idiot moment of the week, we caught up with Iron fan Ben Maidman earlier on in the week to do a review of the first weird number, but 41 games as we head into the final 5. Review of the season so far and how he sees the final running going. So these are the thoughts of Ben Maidman.
Well, as we approach the final 5 games of the regular season, I thought it was a good chance to take stock, see where we are, do a bit of a review. Of course, Ben, this is your quick maths 4th, 5th review of the season?
Something like that.
There's been a lot. Less than half a dozen, more than 3. Somewhere in that ballpark. So, 5 games to go. Let's have a bit of a chat about where you think we are, how you've seen the season so far. Now, the last time we spoke was straight after the Oxford City game away from home, where we drew 0-0. And that put us in second place, 3 points behind Chester. Fast forward, what are we now? 8 games later. We're in first place. We've got a 2-point cushion. Of course, Kidderminster have that better goal difference. But how have you seen the last 7 or 8 games?
Well, we've put ourselves in a good position. It's obvious to say. I hate the phrase, but it's in our hands. There's been times where we've looked really good. The Chester game, I mean, what a day that was, and what a performance for a whole host of reasons. And then on the flip side of that, Kidderminster, at the minute, our closest rivals, we went there and we weren't very good at all. So there's been good in there, there's been bad in there, but we've put ourselves in a decent position, ready to go into the last 5 games and hopefully kick on and hopefully get out this league.
Now, before the season started, you chucked your predictions in along with many of the others. And I think you had us right up there. So as we kind of get into this home straight, would you say it's been in line with your expectations, or have you been impressed with how Andy Butler's adapted throughout the season?
Um, Early on, we started really well. Obviously, the first 10 games or so, we were cut away at the top really, and then we had that blip in the middle. And as a lot of fans were, we were quite. I was quite critical of the five at the back. Since we changed away from the five at the back at Leamington, and we won there, it's been pretty much a continuous thing of the four at the back, and we've seemed to look a little bit better, well, quite a lot better since we've gone to the four at the back. Before the season, you always get really optimistic. You think we're going to win the league at a canter, but it never usually is going to be the case. So we're top of the league. I'm obviously delighted that I'm top of the league. I expected us to win the league. We've got the biggest budget. We've got one of the best squads, if not the best. So yeah, I think the expectation is to win the league. We're top of the league, so hopefully we carry that on, and them expectations do come to fruition.
I guess the biggest thing that's happened in terms of players and the hand that Andy Butler's got available to him since the time we last spoke and now is the fact that Danny Whitehall has obviously been injured now for quite some time. For me, very impressed with how Carlton Ubazunu has taken that opportunity because it looks to the world like he was probably going out on loan right up until Whitehall's injury.
Yeah, it's one of those where in pre-season he was scoring left, right, and centre. Couldn't stop. We thought, wow, what a gem we've got here because he was every time we scored a goal near enough, his name was on the score chart. So yeah, and then he started the season obviously quite slowly, bit in and out of the team. Had a couple of chances where sometimes it felt like when he got in front of goal, his legs just seemed to turn to jelly a little bit. But now he's had that run in the team. He's kicked on really well. He's scored. I mean, getting that first goal out of the way is always seems to be for a striker so important. I think his first one was at it was at Buxton, wasn't it? Was that his first one?
Scarborough at home.
Scar up in a game that in another tight game. So yeah, he went back to back, didn't he? He scored at Scarborough and then he scored at Buxton. So to score them important goals to get them weights off his shoulders, really important moments for him and for the team because if you're at the top of the league, you need someone who's going to put the ball in the back of the net regularly.
If I was to ask you, what fills you with confidence as we head into the last 5 games, and what maybe fills you with a little bit of pessimism as we head into the 5 games, what do you think might be the defining factor between the two?
I think the really important thing is the clean sheets. I mean, as we saw how Tamworth did last season, they seem to keep clean sheets after clean sheets. Um, so they're huge. If you, as Michael Owen once said, if you keep clean sheets, you don't lose, or however the saying goes.
Or if you throw an apple into the bin, you'll impress your mum or something.
He had the bravery to do that.
What a guy.
So it's one of those really. I think the clean sheets are massive. With and we've kept a lot. I think we're on 24, is it now? I think so. Obviously, that fills you with a lot of optimism if we can not concede and we can kick on, and you only have to score one to win the game. So they're huge. It's huge if we can keep the ball out of our net. There's, I mean, I guess the on the flip side of that, it's just being a Scunthorpe United fan. We've seen the ups and downs over the last few years. We've seen a couple of playoff campaigns in that last five or between that 5-10 years. We've seen good playoff campaigns, seen bad playoff campaigns. Hopefully, it doesn't come down to that, and we win the last few big matches. We go on that run to the end of the season, and we win the league, and we don't have to be in the middle of another playoff campaign.
That would be the ideal scenario. I, for one, probably expect we will get over the line from this point. Where's your mind at, Ben? Do you think we've got enough in the tank and points on the board to finish this off in the next 5 games?
$1 million question, isn't it? Every After every win, I think, yeah, that's it. We've won the league. I think we're gonna. And then you take stock and you look and you see that Kidderminster have gone and won as well. I think it's going to go down to the wire. Um, I think this weekend is going to be a really big weekend. Um, Radcliffe, although they're lingering just above the relegation zone, it's still going to be a tough place to go. And then Kidderminster as well. They have a difficult game. They've got Buxton away, haven't they? So I think this weekend's going to be really big. I said to you previously that this is a really big weekend. If we win on Saturday, I think we go on and we win the title.
Of course, Radcliffe themselves haven't won since they beat Warrington 1-0 on the 15th of March. So they drew 1-1 with Curzon, lost 2-1 to Brackley, lost 3-2 to Spennymoor, and lost 1-0 to Oxford City on Saturday. So 5 games without a win potentially. It sets it up nicely, as you say, that Buxton's a tough place to go for Kidderminster. For me, there's an opportunity here to get 4 points clear at the weekend.
Yeah, I feel though that I think that every team in that has something on the line. Obviously, us and Kidderminster are going for the title. Radcliffe, I know that they're quite a few points in front, but I'd expect they'd want a few more just to confirm their safety. And then Buxton, they're just outside the playoffs. So it feels like all the teams in there, their season isn't completely finished yet. So that's why I think it's going to be a difficult place for both Scunthorpe and Kidderminster to go and just win. I don't think it's going to be as routine as that. I think they're going to be difficult places to go for us both.
Having said that, with Radcliffe, with 5 games to go and a 7-point buffer on Needham Market in that final relegation zone, you'd be disappointed as a Radcliffe fan if you were relegated from this point, I would think. But Ben, let's have a couple of final thoughts from you. If there was a player that's maybe stood out for you this season that you think's been the difference, and let's probably avoid the obvious Cal Roberts because clearly he's been the biggest point of difference for us this season. If there was another player that you could maybe highlight and say, maybe an unsung hero or somebody that is an obvious choice but has really made a big difference for us this season.
I think it would be an unsung hero. It's one that fans have been critical of him in the past, but I think Cloonan's been instrumental in the middle of the park. I think you need a player like that in your team. I think I spoke about that last time on the podcast. He's a key instrumental figure of what we do. You always see him organising, even if he's not on the ball. He's in the midst of it all. He's always organising. He's always pointing. He's always encouraging the side. A real captain, I think. That's what I think of when I think of Cloonan. He's one of those. He's a real captain, a real leader. And it as well in there is he showed at times that range of passing that he's got. I know that a lot of the time it's get the ball and move it onto somebody else. But he does a lot of donkey work in there. He runs, he gives everything. I think apart from Roberts, who's had a wonder season, I think he's definitely a shoe-in for the player of the season. And then you've got Fitzsimmons as well. Obviously, 24 clean sheets. You can't argue with it. He's going to get a shout in there for player of the season. And at times he's made some crucial saves at really important times of games. When we go and win 2-0 or we go and win 3-0 somewhere, but if he's made a big save at 0-0 or at 1-0, it can go a little bit unnoticed. But yeah, he's been key as well. So them two as well, they're definitely in with a shout. But if we win the league, I mean, you look at the back four, how well they've been as well. There's been a bit of change in there. Boyce had a really good run. I think he made a mistake, but then Butler kept faith in him and he still carried on and was good. Evans has come into the team. He's been brilliant. So yeah, you need the team collectively to be performing at a high level. But for me, Cloonan and Fitzsimmons, as well as Roberts, are going to be in there with a shout for the player of the season at the end.
Very final thought from you then, Ben. So we'll get you in right at the end of the season, after the final ball has been kicked and we get you to do a final review. But if you could give us a rating out of 10 for the first 41 games of the league season and all the cup games in between, what would you rate Andy Butler and Scunthorpe's performance out of 10 so far?
I think Butler has showed had to adapt. I think he showed how he can adapt. if you get a promotion, a title-winning promotion in your first season, you can't go too far away from it. And a cup in that as well. Obviously, the Link Senior Cup, you can't go away from a 10. If you win the league and you win a cup, maybe a 9 because of the FA Cup run. We had a couple of poor results in the FA Cup where maybe you'd expect us to come through. So we'll stick with a 9 with Butler, and then a 9 as well for the actual season. We're only 2 points clear. If we win the league, that goes to a 10. But
if we don't go up, it goes down to a 6 or a 7.
Exactly. Yeah, well, I had us to win the league, so you can't go. If it's below that expectation, that number obviously falls dramatically. So, yeah, it's 9 at the minute, but it's obviously dynamic. It could change.
Well, that is interesting. So it's looking like there's a lot of optimism, really, amongst Scunthorpe United fans. I think the majority of us probably think we'll get over the line. To finish the podcast, we will have our usual hero, idiot, and moment of the week. But before we do that, let's have a feature which we started, I think, a month or so ago, Marco. The past player watch.
So are you going to... This is the debut, and Max is going to let everyone know here. And it's an acoustic from Max Bell. So if you want to tell them, Max, the new theme tune.
Over to you, Max.
Let me have a think.
This was Max.
Like, can I write the theme tune? Sing the theme tune.
How long can I rip off Match of the Day before we infringe copyright legislation?
Yeah, please don't.
You're gonna get like one of those keyboards out, that like the kids Fisher Price ones. That's what I'm looking for.
or the ones you get in like music class at school, where you could just press the button and it just come up with a tune all on its own. Yeah.
I was
right.
I was
no need for a jingle. Let's go on to our past player watch. Now, Marco, as you know, all I need is a name, and I can do something of a deep dive into a player's past, present, and sometimes even future. So, the player in focus this week is Kevin Hurst, a man who made over 70 appearances for the Iron between 2007 and 2009, winning the League One title with us in that 06-07 season. Well, I've done a little bit of a dive onto Kevin Hurst, and it turns out he is, wait for this, a building surveyor. Now, when I dug a little bit deeper, I found out that he qualified in 2019, and I believe his employers to be Pinnacle Surveyors, who are a Derbyshire-based property valuations company. And you can call them on 01332 830 202.
I wasn't expecting this kind of dive.
And in an interview 2 or 3 years ago, he said, and I quote, "I enjoyed my footballing career, but the only time I play football now is five-a-side on a Monday night." So if there are any football teams, any five-a-side football teams in the Derbyshire area looking for a tricky winger, give Kevin Hurst a ring. Is all
Defo still does a job, doesn't
he? Yeah.
I might give him a call for the Iron Hour podcast team.
What was the name of the company again?
It was Pinnacle Surveyors, and they are available on 01332 830 202. I tell you, lads,
it's a school day.
All I need is a name.
Max is currently ringing Kevin Hurst, so we're going to be joined by ex-Iron winger Kevin Hurst on the podcast, everyone.
I would say, in fairness to Hurst, I think he was a big part of our positive start to that 07-08 championship season.
Oh, it was a building block
on the left hand side, particularly in the sort of the first 3 to 4 months. I think signs then began to work us out a little bit offensively, and our game plan in some of them games was, well, let's pass the ball out wide to Kevin on the left and see if he can do something. But good player, had a good career,
great hair.
Yes. In fairness, great hair.
The typical, the stereotypical League One, League Two footballer haircut of that time,
like Lee Trundle.
I'm thinking, what's his name? Is it Lee Nelson when he pretends to be a footballer? That
David
sort of...
Bentley. What's he called? Is it David Bentley? Not David Bentley. David Ben. Not David Ben. What's he called?
I think it's something Ben.
Jason Ben.
Jason Bent.
Jason Bent.
110% bent.
Yeah, he was honestly that sort of haircut was just the typical League One, League Two football. And
The best thing about that is the clip where he's like, "Listen, I love this club, and I'll never leave unless they don't give me exactly what I need, and that's shitloads of money."
Which is every single footballer ever in the Premier League, is it not? Yeah.
Trent's just watching it, going, Jason Bent, interesting.
I don't think I'm sure they're going to pay him well. I don't think that move to Real Madrid is not solely about the money. I don't think. I think that's a bit unfair. And I think the meltdown from Liverpool fans has been a bit OTT, to be honest.
Oh yeah, but
it's Real Madrid. Look, we can argue about it, but they're just about the biggest club on the planet.
They're the only team that have that pulling power. It's like go there and be a Galactico. It is one of us. Look, it's his home club team. You are going to be... Look, it's not nice for anyone him leaving, but to begrudge him something that can go change his life, and obviously he can win more Champions Leagues. And it's every... Look, Real Madrid is the goal, isn't it? So, yeah, and look,
good film.
It hurts.
That was a good... It was a good film. Santiago Munez, who, of course, ended up at Real Madrid as well.
With Gravison.
What was the name of... Oh, God, it wasn't Calvin Harris. It was like Gavin Harris or something.
Gavin Harris. A weird pet.
He had the same haircut as Kevin Harris, actually.
He works with him now on the job.
Yeah, I could see that, actually, yeah. He does look like a chippy, yeah, I can see that. Right, let's. I think we've got about 6 minutes, guys, to have our hero idiot moment of the week, so no pressure. But Marco, kick us off with your hero of the week.
Hero, last night, Mourinho is back.
He never left. Never left.
Squeezing the Galatasaray manager's nose. Why? Why not? Why not? And look, he's going to get a ban, and he's become more of a sideshow.
And he went. And not only that, but the bloke he did it to went down like he'd been shot.
Yeah,
diving has reached the managers in the Turkish Premier League.
They've been practicing with the players by the looks of it, but I loved it. It's textbook Mourinho. Of course, he did it.
It's good. It's good. Right, Max, you've got 30 seconds to make your case for your hero of the week.
My hero of the week is Ilan Mesler, the Leeds goalkeeper, for single-handedly doing his best to keep Leeds in the Championship.
Yeah, love it.
I see that they've announced that he's finally dropped, and I'm devastated because I actually think Carl Darlow at that level's a really good number 2.
It's a good answer.
You'll get Leeds fans in goal, and I bet you hate them.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of Hull fans as well. I am going to give it Marco, but don't take it personally because that was a very strong answer. And you do have a chance to pull it right with your idiot of the week.
My idiot of the week is Todd Bowley / Chelsea for their absolute profit sustainability rules scam. They've only managed to try and technically pass the rules by selling their women's team to a different company still within that ownership structure. It's absolute accountancy voodoo. I'm sick of clubs doing stuff like this. The Premier League either need to have proper PSR rules and properly enforce them, or just say, nah, that's it. Or there's no rules and just make it a crap show, because at least then you'd know where they stand. I'm sick of this rubbish.
It is another good answer. And we can add a new word or phrase now to the Max Bell bingo card, which is accountancy voodoo. So we'll add that one to the drinking game, Michael.
Because that's something that's been occurring a lot at Scunthorpe over the last few years.
Very good.
And it's genuinely really riled me, this, like, to a point where I've never wanted my team to win a game as much as Cagliari on Sunday. It got announced 4 days. So it got announced yesterday, 4 days before a fixture. So Cagliari, my team, have to fly or get the ferry, the fans, to every single game because it's on the mainland. They gave us 4 days notice that now, after everyone's booked the tickets, flights, boats, we are now no longer able to attend the game as a resident of Sardinia. So Cagliari fans on the mainland of Italy can go to the game, but any residents of Sardinia cannot go over to the game. No,
have they said why? Because that's like genuinely disgraceful.
Scared of public order. But to do this 4 days before is mental. It's a massive game. We could pretty much send Empoli down with a win and us stay up. So it's just
do you think that's what they're worried about, Rookie?
who knows? But even so, we've let them come to us. That's not the answer. That's not football, is it? Football, you want an away end. To me, Chester was fantastic because there was an away end, and that's what you want to see. And yeah, I hope they're really not taking out of football, but yeah, really.
And have Serie A signed off on this?
We've appealed, but it's going to be two-way. It's going to be weeks of it's bullshit.
And also, actually, I reckon that the chances of Rookingham will actually increase, because if you're a Cagliari fan and you've booked a flight or a ferry or whatever, and you're going to and a hotel, perhaps
they're going across. I've seen the plans on Facebook.
Yeah, they're just going to turn up.
They're going into the car park.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not police it properly? Get them all in the stadium, knowing where everyone is. It's
correct. Like even Italian police can't stop people getting on ferries. Like it's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous.
I absolutely hope we turn them over.
It is right. It's a good answer, Marco, but it's not selling the women's team. Like that is just the answer.
I'll be honest with you, Marco. I'd have given you the point. I reckon he's done that just so we can have it a 1-1.
Yeah, look, okay. Am I not transparent? I've set it up for a final. I like to keep it all going. So yeah, all right. You see through me. So what? Let's set it up then for our moment of the week. And Marco, I'll let you make your case first.
Mine was the big Merseyside derby yesterday. Obviously, a lot of talking points with VAR. To anybody who's seen, it's probably hard to miss. The Tarkowski assault. It's one of those tackles where maybe in the 80s and 90s, they're like, oh yeah, play on.
I don't know, mate. Ray Parler's making that and getting sent.
But look, I saw. Oh God, I forgot his name. The Everton striker.
Albert Lewin?
No, the old one. Nasty bugger.
Duncan Ferguson.
Yeah. Duncan Ferguson says it's a red card. It's a red card. There's no deniability there.
If he says it's a red card, it's probably a prison sentence.
Yeah.
Well, literally, and that is coming from a man who literally was sent to prison for something he did on a football pitch.
Look,
not even joking. He literally did.
Don't get me wrong. I know it's funny and it's Liverpool and it's a derby and you want to make those tackles early on, but you just don't want to see. It could have ended really nasty.
He could have properly done it if McAllister's leg had been planted properly when he'd done that.
Yeah,
that could have been a career-ending injury. That
we want to see full-body tackles. We don't want that to ever come out of the game, obviously. But it just maybe it went over the line yesterday.
Never mind over the line; he went over the knee.
So that's the main. Right. VAR, that's the moment. Is that however not upgraded it? It's something that really needs to be looked at.
I was watching. I know it's me saying we need to hurry up, and then I'm indulging myself here. But I was recently watching one of the first episodes of the Premiership. Do you remember that when ITV took the rights off?
Yeah, Des Lynam.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful day.
Yeah, fantastic. I was watching that recently, and there was like a horrendous tackle on it, and I'm going. It was a booking. I thought, oh, well, that's definitely going to be overturned on VAR. That's a red card. And I'm like, oh, I missed this. The drama.
Yeah, like anyway. Everyone looks back at that. You know that Vinnie Jones tackle he made about 4 seconds into the FA Cup final? Yeah. Everybody looks back at that now. Oh, part of the game. Beautiful, beautiful.
It's like, go get the Scunny clip. You know
yes. Yeah, I like it. Okay, Max, you can win it with your moment of the week.
So my moment of the week comes from Barra's favourite country on earth, which is
UK,
Germany. And to the DFB Pokal, I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, semi-final when the German third team Arminia Bielefeld rolled over Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen. It's the 4th top flight side they've beat in the competition this season, and the scenes of like literally just the even just the Bielefeld substitutes like running onto the pitch at full time in like proper full blown delirium. Like that's brilliant. It's a proper competition there. Germany's probably the only country I think where the quality of the pyramid, at least down to the third tier, really does match the UK. Yeah. The Bundesliga 2 this season, the attendances have been absolutely crackers. I think they've got to the final for the first time in their history. We played at the Olympic Stadium in Berlin. And whilst I suspect they might be struggling, I want to say they play against either Stuttgart or Red Bull.
You've done your research, Matt.
I have. And yeah, I hope they get over the line. But even if they don't, just that moment of full time when they won it and they were all going over to the ultras and hugging each other, that's proper football. That's proper football.
That is the answer, and you win. And can I just say, I truly believe now that you've sussed the game with me as host. You've got your answers have consisted of anti-Leeds, women's football, and pro-Germany. The holy trinity of Barra.
Yeah, it is. I haven't mentioned your haircut once. I haven't mentioned your jacket. I've just played all the notes that I know you like in a desperate bid to win a meaningless vote.
Indeed. Oh, in fact, we've just had a judge's recount after those comments. And Marco, you are the winner, Marco. Congratulations.
Well, football's the winner. Because mine was, compared to women's football, Germany and anti-Leeds, mine was Mourinho, Italian football, and fuck that.
Yeah, you've won it now, mate. We've done a swap.
Quite right wing.
Basically, the decision went to VAR. It's been overturned. You've won it. Congratulations.
I like that. Get it in.
Yeah. You using VAR to give screw VAR the point. I think there's some karmic justice in there.
Marco's just there doing the old TV.
Right. A great Mourinho moment. Can you remember when there was the VAR decision got it wrong? I think it was in the Turkish.
He's showing people on his phone, wasn't
he? He got his laptop out and just plonked it in front of the camera screen. The ref came over and booked him.
I'm going to give you one better than that. I played in a five-a-side football tournament in Goole, organised by the Tesco Distribution Centre. And we made the semi-final, and it went to penalties. And a striker of Eastern European origin took one of the penalties, and if he scores, they win. And I tipped it onto the bar, but the net rippled. And gun to my head, I think it probably went in. But the referee didn't give it. He said I'd saved it. And literally this Polish kicker, his wife ran onto the pitch with a mobile phone and was showing the referee the footage of the net rippling. The referee, to be fair to him, went over to the camera, went over to the phone, watched the footage just to amuse her, but then went, no goal, he saved it. It was absolute fucking carnage, mate.
So
the
actual hero of the week is that referee.
Yeah. Okay, right. That wraps up the Iron Hour podcast for this week. We'll see you next week when we talk about the fact we've only 4 games to play, and we might even have a potential date for when we can work out when we'll be lifting the trophy, Max. Am I getting ahead of myself? Who knows?
Shut up.
I would like to second the motion for you to shut up.
Listen, Easter miracles, Easter Monday. I'm feeling a vibe.
Hang on. So on that basis, then we're going to lose away at Kings Lynn on Good Friday. We're going to win at home on Easter Monday, and we're going to rise from the dead, and the title charge is going to be back on. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
chocolate for everyone.
Chocolate for everyone. Okay. And that wraps up the Iron Hour podcast. I'll see you next week. Up the iron.